Greetings. I want to talk about grace and mercy. Again, this is Growing Testimonies. As I grow, I testify. It's just how it is. Grace is unmerited favor. It is getting what I don't deserve. Not based on anything I did. It's just you getting something good. Just remember the G in grace is good. So, mercy. It is getting what you don't deserve because you've been bad, undeserving, selfish, self-righteous, law-minded, whatever your not good is, you're not getting the consequence for that not good behavior. It is also a form of forgiveness, an area of love that says, I do for you in spite of your negative action, behavior, or what have you. So, this spin on mercy and grace is based in relationships. God says He gives us new mercies every day. And He also says, where sin abounds, grace abounds much more. That is not to say you have a right to sin or you gotta sin to get grace. It just says, I have grace. It even says His grace is sufficient when you're going through trials. Meaning you get stuff to help you through the trials. Good stuff. Good situations. Good possibilities, opportunities, things. So in relationships, I want you to think about where you can give grace and mercy to help sow seeds of connection and deep love for your mate. I reflect on a time when I was married. I had several jobs in the area of my wife's job at the time. So on occasion I would bring her lunch as led by the Holy Spirit. And also my motivation intrinsically just to want to please her. So on this one occasion, the desire was there, but my timing was off with her lunch hour. But it was still the Holy Spirit who kept urging me on to go ahead and purchase the meal for her. I went there late, and one of the things that was an issue in the beginning of our marriage at the time was that I was not on time with certain things. I was late or what have you. But God. So she didn't know I was bringing it. I came to her office. Surprise, surprise. She comes out, gives me this big old hug, and was like, thank you. And had to rush back to her duties. No major. I felt good because I got the smile on her face. And it was good to see that smile. If nothing else, I did it for the smile. I did to say, hey, I love you. Later that evening, when she came home, she told me the other side to that. She said that she missed her lunch. She had more than enough and shared with some of her colleagues. And it was on time for what she needed at the time. So the urging of the Holy Spirit helped me to give grace to her and to just add that John 10:10, life in abundance. See, the thief was telling me that, had me looking in the past, had me looking at, you were late in the past, that was the issue, you're late for her now, don't do it. And I would have lost that opportunity to sow good seed in a relationship. So grace does more for the other, more than just for the other person. It does good for you too. In your relationship, you have to recognize constantly you're sowing seed. Grace and mercy are good seeds to sow in your relationship. Mercy example. So often in different relationships, and especially after I've matured to recognize that, and I'm not going to say I've shown it every time, but just matured to recognize that be careful of the stains that you leave on a person. I know my mouth can cut real deep and say some very harmful things. And as I've matured, I've learned find that pause button. Certain things I'm just not going to say. Certain seeds I'm just not going to sow. To at least if you know we get an argument, and if I get to a certain level, certain things I'm just not going to say. And further, there was a situation with so many situations with mothers of my children where a lot of mouth is going, and I really want to be like, I'm not that dude anymore. And I just said, you know what? It's not my job to prove to them who I am. I'm just going to let them be wherever they are. If all they remember is whatever stain that they have, or if all they're going through is a bad time and right now their hurt is directed toward me, I don't have to retaliate. That's mercy. And even though it's a co-parenting relationship, I don't have to retaliate. Now I can stand up for myself and say, hey, look, this is not the situation. Can we focus on our child, or what have you? Or maybe you can stop with the demeaning comments so we can focus on the situation at hand. You don't have to attack me every time we have a conversation. But a lot of times I don't say that because it just feeds that bickering or what have you. Even in previous marital relationship, I recognize that certain things I just don't have to say. Just giving mercy. I remember one time doing an outing, there was a very uncomfortable situation that happened, and some things were said that made me very uncomfortable. And I just said, you know what? I want to make sure this outing is at least me presenting my best self. And there was some watering down of the energy or what have you that was not very comfortable. And if I had of went toe to toe with that energy that I was feeling, it could have been a less nice or less enjoyable situation. And guys, I'm gonna tell you this, because I am a man, and I play sports, play football, basketball, baseball, street ball, whether it's football in the street, basketball in the street, literally in the street that we lived on. Sometimes you play hurt, knee bleeding, busted, still gotta walk home. Sometimes you just gotta play hurt. and not act hurt, but just go through finishing while you hurt. Just finish it while you hurt. That's the sacrifice of love. Again, mercy is a very deep love conviction that says, I forgive you, and I'm not going to hold charge to you for whatever you did wrong or whatever you're doing wrong. So many of us are going through brokenness and broken relationships because we keep adding to the brokenness. And until we stop the cycle of hurt, we're going to continue to perpetuate it. And that perpetuation of the cycle of hurt just adds more hurt and sows seed in your life for hurt. God says seed time and harvest time will not cease. No matter what grace and mercy we have, you still sowing seed. There's still consequence for all our actions. Your life is the sum total of your choices, consequences, and the people with whom you deal. So, if you want a good life, then you should sow seed for that good life. Life in abundance. The thief always comes. The thief is working 24/7. Working all day, every day to destroy you. So what is your prayer life doing? Are you putting your angels to work to have that life in abundance? Just because it's impossible does not mean it can't. Just because it's challenging does not mean it's impossible. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not worth it. It can't happen. You can't do it. I see so many people give up. And I recognize faith requires patience. It works patience. Faith works your patience. James chapter 1. But you get a reward when you truly activate your faith. When you truly step out there and say, I'm going to do the do's that God said do. Mercy and grace, if God gave it and we're made in the image of God, Genesis chapter 1:27. And let us make God in our image. So Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit, they're making you and me in His image. I formed you in the womb. And I'm saying all this because if God gives us new mercy every day and gives us grace, no matter how much we sin, and when we going through bad, hard times, He gives us grace, why can't we do that in our relationships? If your mate is going through a rough time, are you going to add to the strife? Or are you going to help give them some life? Hey, let me make a meal for you. You may get on my last nerves right now, but let me do something special for you. Because I know you going through. You hurt me. I still love you. And that's one thing you should never forget. Never forget that you love the person even doing whatever uncomfortable situation. Because when you forget you love the person, you stop loving the person. You start looking for excuses to abuse the relationship, to misuse the love, to misuse the covenant relationship. And you forget God in it. You forget to allow yourself to be a vessel of God's love for the other person. You forget your vows. You forget what you said I do to. And even if you don't forget, you refuse to use and apply what you knew to do. Knowing is one thing, applying is another. Understanding is good, but acceptance is better when you don't understand, but you're doing what you know is the right thing to do for the relationship. Grace and mercy are good for the health and safety of the relationship. If you are not safe to communicate to your mate, if you are not safe to be upset without going off the deep end in your relationship, if you are not safe to allow your mate to express anger, hurt, or what have you in a non-abusive manner, that needs to be worked on. And grace and mercy allows the safety of the relationship to grow in that area. You're not going to get it right every time. And that's why we have to balance grace and mercy in the relationship. You didn't get it right, but guess what? We're still here. I'm still here. We're still a team. You're not my enemy. I love you. I keep this focus of we love each other. We're going to show grace and mercy. So I conclude with saying, reflect on the last argument, the last negative situation, the last frustration. How could you do it better? Reflect on it. Go to your mate and tell them how you can do that better. And hold each other accountable for doing better. Don't expect one person to do more than the other. You do your part. You expect them to do their part. And address it if not, but don't stress it. After you address it once or twice, take it to God. Work the love triangle. When you realize how much God does for you on a day-to-day basis that you don't deserve, and how much you are protected from that you do deserve, then you'll recognize you can give that same love. Have a good day.